Welcome back to American Sunrise, a beautiful shot of the White House this morning. I'm Emily Finn, filling in today for Dr. Gino. We so appreciate you all joining us. It is time now for today's health news, sponsored by The Wellness Company. And under the microscope today, if that song didn't give it away, it may be 420 somewhere, and that somewhere may be all throughout the United States. The Wall Street Journal is reporting the Trump administration may be considering reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug in the U.S. The Journal claims President Trump told donors earlier this month he was looking to move forward on the issue. Marijuana is currently a Schedule I drug, and the president, in a post on Truth Social last September, said he would, quote, unlock the medical uses of marijuana to a Schedule III drug. Not everyone is on board with the president's reclassification plan for marijuana in the U.S., though. RAV's very own Charlie Kirk weighed in on this issue, citing against the president. Kirk says he hopes reclassifying marijuana doesn't happen, adding, we need to protect public spaces for kids. Everything already smells like weed, which is ridiculous. Let's make it harder to ruin public spaces, not easier. A little bit of a divisive topic there. Let's send it over to David Brody now in Washington, D.C.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Emily. You know, a new administration in Washington, D.C. has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. The reality is, however, that there is only so much the government can do, and that if we really want to make America healthy again, that starts at home with each and every one of us. And that is where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from the TWC doctors all the time on this network. You know that their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make sure you are prepared for whatever happens with their series of prescription medical kits. Kits, by the way, that contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist you in the proper use of those medications. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more. I'm sorry, did I hear weight loss? Anyhow, it can help you stay healthy and live a longer and more satisfying life. Make America healthy again starts at home. Do your part. Protect the health of you and your family. I've got the kit as well. Go to twc.health/RAV today and order. Once again, twc.health/RAV and use the promo code RAV to save, I'm going to quote Dr. G here, 10%. All right, that is a tribute to her. Well, a tribute. She'll be back. Don't worry. I mean, she's just off for the day. Our good friend and top economist, Steve Moore, was brought into the Oval Office by President Trump late last week. He had some interesting new data to share. Take a look.
So I called the president because I had some very good news from some new data that we've been able to put together that no one has ever seen before, and I'll just very quickly go through these. So I was telling the president that he did the right thing in calling for a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because this shows that over the last 2 years of the Biden administration, the BLS overestimated job creation by 1.5 million jobs. That's Mr. President, that's a gigantic error. And I don't know if she's, I'm not
Might not have been an error. That's the bad part. If it was an error, it would be one thing. I don't think it's an error. I think they did it purposely.
Whether that, you may well be right, but even if it wasn't purposefully, it's incompetence.
Right.
Okay. So 1.5 million jobs overestimated.
That was great by Steve Moore saying, yeah, either way, it's incompetence. Great stuff. For more, let's bring in the man himself. That'd be former Trump economic advisor and the co-author of the book, The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity. That'd be Steve Moore. Steve, great to have you on the show. So tell us more about this Oval Office presentation, how it all unfolded. Good stuff.
Well, good morning, David. Thanks for having me. It was almost a out-of-body experience being there in the Oval Office with the president, and I was showing him some of those statistics that you just put on the screen. And all of a sudden, Trump says to me, hey, let's just have a impromptu press conference. He calls all the media in and the cameras and about 40 reporters crowd into the Oval Office, and he hands it over to me. And I was like, hubba. I didn't quite know what to say, but it went very well. Look, Trump is in a very good mood. His the economy is really improving dramatically. And one of the things that I showed him was how much better, David, on some of the charts that followed that first chart I showed you. Look at what's happened to income just this year for families in the first 5 months of the Trump administration, up by like $1,100 in 5 months. Incidentally, under Biden, in his first 4 years in office, the median family income grew by less than $500. So what I showed is that the Trump performance on the economy for middle class families, there it is. Look at that number, almost $6,000 increase in real median income under Trump. That's the red line, and the blue line is what happened under Biden. So 10 times higher median family income increase under Trump than Biden.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers just say it all. I can look at my 401k and I'm like, okay, glad Trump is president compared to Biden because it's much better under him. Let me ask you about this.
Oh, by the way, let me just say, David,
yeah, go ahead.
you raised a very good point. I was talking about income there. You mentioned wealth. The stock market did substantially better when Trump was president than when Biden. So if you add the wealth effect to the income effect, Americans were much better off when Trump was president. And my point is that so far in the first 6 months of the Trump presidency, in Trump 2.0, same trend.
Yeah. Let me I was going to ask you one question, but let me go back and ask you something different about tariffs real quick. I know you're not the biggest fan of tariffs. Got that. We understand that. But there's billions of dollars of revenue coming in to the government here. What's your take on what's going on with tariffs? Principally, I know you got some concerns, quite a few concerns. But how do you think he's handled all of this? Exactly.
Well, I talked about that with the president. The first thing he does when he sees me, there's Steve Moore, he doesn't like my tariffs. Well, I'm not a big fan of tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. And, some of those taxes, those billions of dollars we're raising come out of the pockets of consumers, and some of it is borne by the foreign companies. But I have to say that Trump's policies and strategy seems to be working, David. I mean, you've got all these countries now. How about that Europe deal? Where, remember, 3 months ago, the Europeans said, we'll never make a deal with Donald Trump. We're never going to negotiate with them. Well, guess what? They negotiated with them, and we got a much fairer deal from the Europeans. That's happening with Japan. It's happening with Korea. It's happening with, we'll see what happens with China. I don't trust China very much. But if he can continue to get these deals that lower the penalty that is imposed on American manufacturers and dairy farmers and our agriculture and our technology firms, I'm all for that. And so it seems to me things are going pretty well on the trade front.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you about the BLS chief who was let go. Help us through this a little bit, because I mean you're making the case with the numbers, which makes sense. What about some of the concern that people would like to basically have a search for the truth and make sure the numbers are accurate? Like, in other words, a lot of people think the BLS chief has no political agenda, but Trump is kind of throwing that out, saying, well, wait a minute, whether it's a political agenda or not, something is fishy here. What do you make of this idea that Americans are trying to kind of, they want to have faith in the statistics that our government is providing from a nonpartisan standpoint? How do you see all of that?
It's a great point, David. And by the way, we don't have faith and we don't have honesty in a lot of our numbers. I mean, let me give you an example with the census. Trump has called for a mid-decade census recount, which is absolutely necessary. Even the Census Bureau itself estimates that red states like Florida and Texas probably lost 3 or 4 congressional seats because there was a miscount in the census. And where was the miscount? In states like New York and Illinois. So there is not the data has become politicized. And I think what Trump is saying, and I was certainly saying this, is we don't want to skew the numbers either way. We want to make sure these numbers are accurate, especially when it comes to the jobs report. That's the most important economic statistic that comes out every month, is what's happening with jobs. If we can't trust that number, it has very negative effects on the U.S. economy.
As we wrap up, Steve, one thing about Trump's personality, right? I mean, you have given him a lot of solid advice over the years. You're close with him. He knows you. And yet you were against him on tariffs. I say against him. You had concerns about the tariffs. And yet he brought you into the Oval Office. You continue to have this relationship with him. I think that says a lot about Trump to say that he's willing to talk about that. I'm curious to get your take on that part.
I think it's you really nailed it, my friend David. I mean, this is the one thing I really respect about Donald Trump. From the first time I met him 8 or 9 years ago, we were duking it out on issues, and I agree. Look, I agree with 80% of what Trump's doing. Okay, so some of the things I don't agree with, but you can have that fight with him inside the Oval Office, and he respects people who might have a different viewpoint. Now, look, he's the president; he makes the final decision. And one last thing, David, even in the instances where I was in the Oval Office with Trump and he made a decision that I didn't necessarily agree with, I always believed, David, that in his heart, he believed he was doing what was best for the American people and what was putting America first. And you look at his record; it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I love the servant leadership, by the way, too. Like you're doing the presentation in the Oval Office and he's holding the charts, and he's like literally he's got to take the charts in his hand and he's like the assistant there with the PowerPoint presentation. Hey, Steve, great to have you here on the show. Thanks so much.
Have a great week, my friend. Take care.
Great stuff. All right, coming up, Bravo star Jennifer Welch, never heard of her, slams Trump supporters and says they should be only allowed at Cracker Barrel and banned from ethnic places. That's not a long sentence typo. We have her comments next on American Sunrise.